I thought today I would talk about the balance of a 5.9 Magnum. 360 LAs are externally balanced. So are the 5.9 Magnums externally balanced. I just want to talk just a little bit about the balance of a 5.9 Magnum. I'm no Magnum expert. In fact, I'm not an expert on anything. Also, we want to throw in a torque converter that we got for drag truck that's going to go behind this here 360. We want to share that information with you too. The main differences between a LA 360 and a 5.9 Magnum 360 when it comes to balance is a couple of things. It's to my understanding that the Magnum has a lighter rotating assembly. Therefore, it's balanced a little bit different. So the old LAs, as we know, had a weighted torque converter behind it, and it had its own harmonic balancer, and that's what separated it from like a 318. The 360 Magnum uses a neutral balanced torque converter, but weights the flex plate. And if you turn it over and look, you can see the weight behind the flex plate there. And this is how the 360 Magnum gets its balance. So it actually uses the same converter as a 318. If you're pulling out a 318 to put in a 360 Magnum, when you buy a 360 Magnum, just get the flex plate with it. If you go to a pick and pull or you're getting something off the internet, usually this is bolted to the back of the crank. You can see that the bolts are set up to where it only goes on one way because it's got two of them real close. And that's so you don't ever mess up the balance. So it only goes on one way. So when you buy your 360 Magnum, make sure you get this with it. That's what we did. And then you can just run it behind a neutral balance converter. There's other options on flex plates too. You can buy them aftermarket and get them SFI rated if you need that, or any other thing. I'm just saying you can get the flex plate with the 360 when you pull it. That's the best way. If you're doing just the mild street application, the factory flex plate will work fine for you. Also, another thing worth mentioning is if you're using the older like 904 or 727 transmission, their bolt pattern wasn't true all the way around the same. As you know, as you probably know, that they're just a little bit off, so the flex plate only fits one way. So when you use this flex plate on those, you just set it on there and put your bolts in there, and you'll find that one of your bolt holes, like you see I did here, I just ovaled it out. There's lots of ways to do that. I'll show you how I did mine. Just a Dremel and a worn stone that happens to be about the same size as that hole, and here it is. That's marked good enough. Just oval it out. You don't have to use this. Get a round file, however you choose. And just in case somebody's interested in crawling underneath and inspecting my torque converter, we'll make sure the flex plate looks good too. And that way it fits just fine on your torque converter. And then you got your harmonic balancer. Do not put the LA harmonic balancer on the Magnum. The Magnum is balanced differently. You can use the original piece. If you got an earlier 360 Magnum, the pulleys will unbolt and you can just put your LA pulley on if you're going with a V-belt, the older look, like we're doing on this one. Other than that, if you got the one piece in the later models, you can just buy another harmonic balancer puller. In this case, we just bought a brand new one. And this one here is kind of unique. It gives you different weights that bolt to the back of the harmonic balancer. And if you read here, it tells you what to do. So if you got basically, you probably can't read that, but it's just basically telling you that if you got a neutral balance 318, you don't have to put any weight on there. Then they got one for a 340 that's externally balanced, one for a 360 LA that's externally balanced, and of course, we have the Magnum externally balanced weight behind here that just bolts in there on the back side. And that's really all that there really is to the 5.9 Magnum balance and why it's different from a 360 LA in the balance. Just because we set ours up this way don't mean you have to do it. You could even take it to the machine shop and have them internally balance it for you, and that changes everything. But if you're pulling a 360 out of a 360 Magnum out of a Dodge Ram or Durango or something, and this is the basics that you need to know to get it into your Duster Dart D100 or 3/4 ton van or whatever it is you're trying to do, and keep the balance. So I hope that helps somebody, maybe. As for the converter, we obviously had to pick one that would match the color scheme of the engine. Not really. What we bought, and I'm just going to tell you right out, I already know, call a custom company like PTC, Ultimate, Dynamic, have them build you a custom one for yours is the best way. I'm not denying that. That's not where I'm going, so save it. What I bought was my second choice. I had a first choice, but it was unavailable, couldn't get it, and I didn't want to tie up this project anymore. I went with a Hughes Pro Street 2430 converter. And I did it for a couple of reasons. It's furnace brazed, it has needle bearings. It's for a low end, it's decent quality for a low end. Can I say it that way? Shipped to our door, it was $484. I could have bought a little cheaper, but I wanted to make sure I at least got the furnace, you know, the braze, the needle bearings and things like that. Also, this is supposed to be behind, they rated it behind a mild 440, a 3000, you know, flash stall. The 360 Magnum isn't going to flash it up that high, but it's going to be leaps and bounds ahead of the tight torque converter that's behind the 318 now. In fact, I'm confident if I'd have had this behind the 318, we'd have been well into the 9s in the 8th mile instead of the 1008 that it ran. We need to start on the install.
What are we doing?
Turning around drag truck so we can pull the 318 out, get the front end on the concrete.